In the midst of everything going on in the world right now, it's Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Even before our son was diagnosed, we knew something was very wrong with the world. When we found out firsthand that it's possible for your own child to be born with cancer and diagnosed stage 4 at a year old, however, and that hundreds of thousands of parents around the world wake up to the same cold, dark reality each and every year, we realized we still hadn't been seeing the world through real eyes. It was almost as if the shock of that experience had caused us to be reborn into the real world. It was very much like coming out of a dream, and everything was still very fuzzy at first. We were squinting to make sense of this new reality. But every day, we've been able to take in the light of truth a little more. 6.5 years later, with another Childhood Cancer Awareness Month at hand, we're wide awake and our eyes are wide open. And we now find ourselves in the same room, watching as the rest of the world has just been momentarily shaken out of its slumber. The dream it had just defined as its existence already fading fast. And a dark father figure is now trying to shush it back to sleep into a new dream, a new normal. And we're saying, no, get up and walk out of that room into the light, even though it will hurt your eyes at first. Because collectively, if we hadn't already gone back to sleep so many times before, there would be no childhood cancer. There would be no cancer, period. We'd all be stellar in every sense of the word. Nothing could touch us. We certainly wouldn't be cowering under the bed, scared to death of our own shadow, let alone another human being. But that's still more comfortable than walking through that door, down the path of the hallway, right into the light. If and when you do, we'll be there waiting to give you a big hug and hold your hand as you look upon real horror that's caused all the childhood cancer and all manner of entirely needless suffering that you've been sleeping through. You'll see thousands of animals per second being slaughtered on factory farms and through devastating fishing practices, just about all of them living utterly horrendous, miserable lives and being pumped full of ungodly chemicals up to that point, as that energy of death emanates out into the energetic field of the earth and is physically dressed up and fed back into us. While the whole ritual is glorified and celebrated, you'll see children's brains literally sizzling in the microwave radiation they're being bathed in, all in the name of convenience. You'll see millions of humans, young and old, fed directly into a meat grinder that never stops, where no amount of death and destruction over rivalries and resources is ever enough, and the word sacrifice has an entirely different meaning than you thought it did. You'll see mountains and mountains and mountains of plastic used for every frivolous reason imaginable, streaming together with rivers of carcinogenic chemicals from cheap products and pesticides and herbicides from cheap food that has nowhere to go but into the water and food supply and right back into even those of us trying our hardest to avoid it for our children. And you'll see a tyrannical, false medical system encouraging and profiting from this whole satanic system of death, forcing harmful treatments upon its supposed patients while ruthlessly snuffing out all forms of real healing and building entire hospitals to house all the children with cancer that need this healing the most, where the greatest innovations you'll find inside are the fun little go-karts they can wheel around in to carry the same old bag of chemo they've been getting for the last 75 years. This is the world you've been living in, no matter what other aspect of it you consider to be normal or good. And yes, there is a whole lot of good in the world, but the intentions are largely being misdirected. If you're giving someone a hard time about their attire or the direction they walk inside of a grocery store, you can tell yourself you're saving lives all you want. If you've been aware of the evils of this system and have not spoken out about or made any other meaningful effort to change it, you're part of the problem as well. You can yell at the screen or bang your fist on the table all you want, doesn't make it untrue. That's the bad news. The good news is it's not too late. We have one more chance to get it right, but it's slipping through our fingers fast. You don't need to change the world on your own, you just need to change yourself. Pull out of this system to the greatest extent possible. Lead by example, the true greater good. We were the definition of your typical young adults who had ignored this stuff their whole lives and then stopped ignoring it and did something about it. So this Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, remember, the end of childhood cancer is also the end of the majority of our suffering, present situation included. Are we as a whole going to wake up and stay awake and confront this monster we've created and turned loose on the world? Or are we going to go back to sleep for the very last time, quietly into the darkness of night? The answer lies within each and every one of us as individuals. I know without a doubt we're capable of it, but it's got to come from all of us, and it's got to happen right now. Let's get this right.